Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to Shloka Day. Today's Shloka number 65 of chapter 18. Manmana bhavamat bhaktaha.
Manmana bhavamat bhaktaha.
Madhyaji mam namaskuru.
Madhyaji mam namaskuru.
Mam evaishyasi satyam te.
Mam evaishyasi satyam te.
Pratijane priyosi me.
Pratijane priyosi me.
Word for word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Man manaha.
Man manaha.
Thinking of me.
Thinking of me.
Bhava.
Bhava.
Just become.
Just become.
Mat bhaktaha.
Mat bhaktaha.
My devotee.
My devotee.
Mat yaji.
Mat yaji.
My worshipper.
My worshipper.
Mam.
Mam.
Unto me.
Unto me.
Namaskuru.
Namaskuru.
Offer your obeisances.
Offer your obeisances.
Mam.
Mam.
Unto me.
Unto me.
Eva.
Evam.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Eshyasi.
Yeshyasi.
You will come.
You will come.
Satyam.
Satyam.
Truly.
Truly.
Te.
Te.
To you.
To you.
Pratijane.
Pratijane.
I promise.
I promise.
Priyaha.
Priyaha.
Dear.
Dear.
Asi.
Ase.
You are.
You are.
Me.
Me.
To me.
To me.
Translation. Always think of me.
Always think of me.
Become my devotee.
Become my devotee.
Worship me.
Worship me.
And offer your homage unto me.
And offer your homage unto me.
Thus you will come to me.
Thus you will come to me.
Without fail.
Without fail.
I promise you this.
I promise you this.
Because you are my very dear friend.
Because you are my very dear friend.
Okay. So this is a very important shloka for us. This is the instruction that the Lord said, I'm about to reveal something even more confidential to you. So this is that shloka and the next shloka. So the concept here is the Lord is saying, always think of me. The most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is the dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna, the very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with the beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on this original form of Godhead Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi-forms as Vishnu, Narayana, Rama, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is disclosed to Arjuna because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. So essentially, Krishna's instruction is that we should always be thinking of him in his form as Shyama Sundara. So that's the final instruction, and that's the confidential part of the instruction that the Lord has revealed to him. You may ask, okay, this is already spoken in Shloka number 34 of chapter 9, but we will find out what is the difference between the 34th Shloka of the 9th chapter and the 65th Shloka of the 18th chapter. There is a difference in the last two lines, and we'll come to that in a second. In chapter 9, Shri Krishna had promised Arjuna to reveal to him the most secret knowledge, and then gone on to describe the glories of bhakti. Here he repeats the first line of verse 9.34, asking him to engage in his devotion. By developing deep love for Shri Krishna and having his mind always absorbed in exclusive devotion to him, Arjuna will be assured of attaining the supreme destination. The perfect example of someone completely absorbed in devotion was King Ambarish. The Srimad Bhagavatam describes Savai Manah Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanuvarnane Karaur Hare Mandira Marjanadishu Shrutim Chakarachita Sat Kathodhaye Mukundalingalaya Darshane Drishau Tadbhritya Gatra Sparshenga Sangamam Ghranam Chatat Pada Saroja Saurabhe Srimat Tulasya Rasanam Tadarpite Padau Hare Kshetra Padanusarpane Kshiro Krishikesha Padabhivandane Kamam Chadasye Natu Kamakam Yaya Yathottama Shloka Janashraya Ratihi. So the translation of the shloka from Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4, Shlokas 18 to 20 are: Ambarish absorbed his mind on the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. He used his speech in glorifying the qualities of God, his hands in cleaning the temple, and his ears in hearing the divine pastimes of the Lord. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deities. He used his limbs in touching the bodies of the devotees, his nose in smelling the fragrance of the tulasi leaves offered at the feet of the Lord, and his tongue in tasting prasad, food sanctified by offering to God. He utilized his feet for walking to the holy abodes, and his head in offering obeisances to the lotus feet of God. He offered all paraphernalia, such as garlands and sandalwood, in the service of God. He did all this not with some selfish motive, but only to attain the selfless service of Lord Krishna through purification. The instruction to wholeheartedly engage in devotion is the essence of all the scriptures and the summum bonum of all knowledge. However, this is not the most confidential knowledge that Sri Krishna referred to, for he has already mentioned this earlier. He now reveals the supreme secret in this next verse. So the next verse would be the 66th verse. So His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu helps us understand this particular verse. This verse is very important because it is describing the supreme instruction and also Arjuna's intimacy. The first two lines of the verse are similar to 9.34. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Manmana, fix your mind on me. That refers to the mind. Mad bhaktaha, offer your heart to me. Madhyaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru, offer obeisances with your body. So basically, these four are meant to indicate that we offer our entire existence to Krishna. The difference in these two verses are, in 9.34 it was Mam e vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. That is the last two lines. Mam e vaishyasi, you will come back to me. Yuktvaivam, by engaging like this. Atmanam matparayanaha, if your heart and soul are engaged like this. If your Atma is mat parayanaha, parayana towards whom? Towards me, is devoted to me, then you will come back to me. But in 18.6y, Krishna is telling something different. In 9.34, the onus, which means the responsibility, is on devotee Arjuna. You do like this, then mam e vaishyasi. You will come back to me. How? Yuktvaivam. By being engaged in this way. And Krishna further clarifies what is the engagement in this way. It's atmanam matparayanaha, by being completely devoted whole and soul to me. So in 9.34, you have to make all of the efforts. That is the instruction that Krishna is giving us. But there is a wonderful variation in 18.65. What is that? Here, the emphasis is different. In any relationship, it is important that both the parties offer something. So in 9.34, Krishna mentioned what devotees need to offer. Atmanam matparayana. Here in 18.65, Krishna is telling what he brings to the relationship. So what does he bring? Krishna is telling, Mam evaishyasi satyam te. Satyam te, I am speaking the truth to you. Mam evaishyasi. You will certainly come back to me. Pratijane priyosime. Priyosime, you are very, very dear to me. And I am pratijane, declaring this. Pratijane, this is a proclamation, public declaration or affirmation. In 9.31 also, which is 3 shlokas before 9.34, pratijani is used. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O Arjuna, declare to the world that my devotee will never perish. So there, Krishna has made a declaration to the whole world. But now here, Krishna is making a declaration to everyone. I declare to you, Arjuna, you are a devotee. And this applies to everyone who is on the path of devotion. All those who cultivate the aspiration of pure devotion. So all of us aspire for that level one day where we will have complete devotion to Krishna. When there are declarations, the promise is more serious. And if someone goes out and declares publicly, then it is even more serious. So now Arjuna is thinking, you are telling me to do this, but there are so many other things also that can be done. And those are also dharmic, which Krishna addresses in the next verse. So yes, Arjuna is thinking, okay, you have repeated this instruction to me. But the difference here is that you are also making a commitment in 18.65. Yeah. In 9.34, the Lord said, if you do this, then you will get this result. Here Krishna is saying, if you do this, I will help you come back to the spiritual world. So this is a relationship, right? There is give and take in a relationship. So affection is exchanged between two people. Love is exchanged between two people. It is not a one-way street. So a couple more commentaries from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, which are nice. How Krishna's love is seen in his repetition and in the variation in his repetition. As Krishna nears the conclusion of his message, he repeats a verse, 18.65, that he has spoken earlier in 9.34. Why does Krishna repeat himself? Let's understand from two perspectives. Immediate textual context. Krishna repeats for clarity. So one of the reasons why we repeat the same things that we have learned again and again is for clarity, deeper understanding. He states explicitly in the previous verse, 18.64, that he will speak again his most confidential instruction for Arjuna's benefit because he loves him and wants his supreme welfare. Because of his love for Arjuna, he doesn't want Arjuna to be lost amid the Gita's many statements about various paths. Does that mean those Gita statements don't express Krishna's love? They do. They express Krishna's loving willingness to accommodate seekers at various levels in their spiritual evolution. In case Arjuna thinks he is at one of those levels. So that means Krishna is so loving, he expands how you can serve him directly, indirectly, in so many different ways. But of course, Krishna's preference is that the most intimate way to love and serve him is by performing bhakti. And the predominant statement there is, always think of me which means we should never forget Krishna. Simultaneously, Krishna knows Arjuna's level and wants to therefore unambiguously state the path that he considers the best for Arjuna. So Krishna is, as a spiritual master here for Arjuna, will of course have a vested interest in making sure that his disciple gets the best advice and follows the best path. So although he says, yes, you have a freedom to choose, still he is concerned for Arjuna's ultimate welfare. And therefore he unambiguously in this particular shloka tells him what he needs to do. So one was the immediate textual context, which is repetition means that particular aspect or philosophy is very important. Repetition also is a reminder for better clarity. So what is the battlefield context here? To understand the repetition in this context, we need to focus on the variation within the repetition. In 9.34, Krishna's emphasis is on what Arjuna needs to do for attaining him. In 18.65, Krishna's emphasis is on what he will surely do if Arjuna does his part. So in this particular shloka, Krishna says, if you do what I have told you to do, then this is how I will help you. This is my role in this relationship. That's why the varying part in this verse states that Krishna is speaking the truth, Satyam Te, because Arjuna is dear to him, Priyosi Me. To appreciate the significance of this variation, consider an example. Suppose two people, A and B, are about to sign a deal. Initially, A may emphasize the part B needs to do. But if A is especially eager for the deal, then A will emphasize that they will surely do their part if B does their part. This shift in focus reveals A's eagerness for the deal. Similarly, the shift in focus from what Arjuna needs to do in 9.34 to what Krishna will do in 18.65 reveals Krishna's loving eagerness that Arjuna harmonizes with him. So in this 65th shloka, it becomes very clear how Krishna is personally involved in his devotees' lives. He never expresses this sentiment in the Jnana section, nor in the Karma section, nor in chapter 6, where he speaks about Dhyana Yoga. Krishna's repetition of 9.34 in 18.65 demonstrates his loving desire to provide clarity. And the variation in the repetition demonstrates his loving eagerness. So Krishna is saying, I am very eager to help you, but you have to take that one step towards me, okay? Which will culminate in always think of me. So what is the best way to fix the mind on Krishna? It is to take up responsibilities in his service. The Bhagavad Gita repeatedly urges us to fix the mind on Krishna. The specific phrase, man mana, fix the mind on me, occurs twice in the Gita, in the 34th shloka and then in the 65th shloka of the 9th and 18th chapters, respectively. And similar instructions occurs several dozen times. How does Arjuna respond? How does he fix his mind on Krishna? By fighting on Krishna's behalf for the cause of establishing Dharma. Earlier in the Gita, in shloka 7 and 8 of chapter 4, Krishna has stated that he descends to this material world for the mission of establishing Dharma. Arjuna's resolve to fight conveys his responsibility to assist Krishna in his mission. By such practical committed service, Arjuna fixes his mind on Krishna. What is the best way in which you can exhibit your love for Krishna? Is by doing what he desires. If Krishna desires X, then that is what we will focus on. So Arjuna was exhibiting his responsibility towards his master. The master has a mission in mind, and the master needs generals and soldiers to help him in his mission. And therefore, the servant's duty is to always satisfy the master. So that is what Arjuna is committed to satisfying Krishna. Arjuna doesn't say, I'll be very happy to fight now that I've got all the answers. He says, I'm happy to follow your instructions. We may hold the notion that to fix the mind on Krishna, we need to engage in directly devotional activities such as chanting his holy names, studying his sacred message, hearing his glories, worshipping his deities, and so forth. But because we frequently don't have much taste for such activities, we may feel that remembering Krishna is not practical. But such remembrance can become easier when we take responsibility to, say, share Krishna's message by speaking about him, informally or formally, as the opportunity presents itself. That responsibility will force us to hear and study diligently, and to also care for those who approach Krishna, thereby overall increasing our absorption in him. So if you are directly involved in serving Krishna and Krishna's mood and Krishna's mission, what is Krishna's mission that he is explicitly stated in chapter 4? I have come here to establish dharma. Of course, preceding that was, for the joy of the devotees and to destroy the demons or the demoniac people. And finally, Krishna says, I have to establish dharma. Can Krishna establish dharma on his own? Yes, he can. But for that, he has to become very authoritarian. So he uses his disciples and devotees to re-establish dharma. And that is why Krishna tells Arjuna in chapter 11, I have already put to death all of these people. But how can you serve me still if I've already decided all these people will die? You can become my instrument in how I want to re-establish dharma. And that instrument means Arjuna has to fight on the battlefield, no matter how distressful or uncomfortable it may be for him personally to do that. He still has to become an instrument in the Lord's hands. In general, taking up responsibility in any field pushes us to go beyond the mind's distractedness, laziness, and moodiness, and strive for steadiness and productiveness. We can dovetail in bhakti this disposition-altering characteristic of taking responsibility. So service means responsibility. Because you're doing on behalf of Krishna, you will be in that mood. No distractions, no laziness, complete focus and concentration on trying to please Krishna. Such dovetailing will make our bhakti practices steadier and stronger. The more intense we are and more focused we are in our sevas, that much you will make progress. Gradually, as such practice purifies us, we will see responsibility not as a burden, but as an opportunity to express and experience love. Sometimes serving Krishna and serving the spiritual master's instructions you may experience it as a burden, like you are alone trying to do all of this. You may get tired, you may get exhausted. You may think nobody's there to help me. I want to do so much more, but I need help, I need support. So sometimes you may get discouraged in the process of service because there is so much to do, there's so little time, there's not perfect support all around you. But still pursuing to the path of devotional service means you don't give up seva. That is the most important way on how one can progress in Krishna consciousness, is that we should not give up our sevas. The sevas is the ideal and sublime way to help you connect to Krishna. And through this, you will please the Guru Parampara. So gradually, as such practice purifies us, we will see responsibility not as a burden, but as an opportunity to express and experience love. Thus, our bhakti will become infused with sublime sweetness. There is so much more commentary written on this particular shloka and the next shloka. We will read that commentary probably after we finish the 66 shloka. There's so many different realizations you can get by reading these commentaries. But because this is a shorter class, we will not go into those additional commentaries. Perhaps we will take it up on Friday, where we will read those additional commentaries and probably have an opportunity to discuss what that actually means practically for us in our life. But ultimately, the message here is Krishna is saying, hey Arjuna, the best way in which you can serve me is to always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer yourself to me. Thus, Krishna says, you will come to me without fail. So here again, Krishna is making a promise. And a double promise now. I am promising you this because you are my very dear friend. That means Krishna is saying, I have a role to play here. But you do your part. If you do your part, I will more than extend myself towards helping and assisting you in coming back to me.
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.